We finished the sixth canto, and you're not going to start the seventh canto yet. I'm going to go back to the beginning. start all over again with a few important verses from the first canto. If you can get Canto 1, Chapter 2, text 15. 15 through about 20 or so. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasim.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Jayam Udiraye.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest,
One should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Naranarayan, Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Nasta
Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Goma Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So that verse Nasta Prayeshu is one of the verses that I'll read today. So this is text 50. I'm just going to read, we're not going to back. We could do this one and then the rest we'll just read. Yad Anutyasina Yuktaha Karma Granthi Bandhanam Chindanti Govidasya Kuryat Aratim Yad Anutyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Govidastasya Kona Kuryat Kataratim Yad Anutyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Govidastasya Kona Kuryat Kataratim Yad Anutyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Govidastasya Kona Kuryat Kataratim Yad Anutyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Govidastasya Kona Kuryat Kataratim Yad Anutyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Govidastasya Kona
kuryat kataratim. Yadanutyasena yukta karmaranti nibandanam chindanti kovidastasya kona kuryat kataratim.
Yat, which, anudya, remembrance, asina, sword, yukta, being equipped with, karma, reactionary work, kranti, not, nibandhanam, interknit, chindanti, cut, kovida, intelligent, hasya, his, ka, who, na, not, kuryat, shall do, kata, messages, ratim, attention. Translation and purport by Divine Guru Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada. Jai. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? Purport. Contact of the spiritual spark with material elements creates a knot which must be cut if one wants to be liberated from the actions and reactions of fruitive work. Liberation means freedom from the cycle of reactionary work. This liberation automatically follows for one who constantly remembers the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead. This is because all the activities of the Supreme Lord, his Leela, are transcendental to the modes of the material energy. They are all attractive spiritual activities, and therefore constant association with the spiritual activities of the Supreme Lord gradually spiritualizes the conditioned soul and ultimately severs the knot of material bondage. Liberation from material bondage is therefore a byproduct of devotional service. Attainment of spiritual knowledge is not sufficient to ensure liberation. Such knowledge must be overcoated with devotional service, so that ultimately the devotional service alone predominates. Then liberation is made possible. Even the reactionary work of the fruitive workers can lead one to liberation when it is overcoated with devotional service. Karma overcoated with devotional service is called karma yoga. Similarly, empirical knowledge overcoated with devotional service is called jnana yoga. But pure bhakti yoga is independent of such karma and jnana because it alone can not only endow one with liberation from conditional life, but also award one the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, any sensible man who is above the average man with a poor fund of knowledge must constantly remember the personality of Godhead by hearing about him, by glorifying him, by remembering him, and by worshiping him without cessation. That is the perfect way of devotional service. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, who were authorized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach the Bhakti cult, rigidly followed this rule and made immense literatures of transcendental science for our benefit. They have chalked out ways for all classes of men in terms of the different castes and orders of life in pursuance of the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam and similar other authoritative scriptures. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? I'm going to read some of these following verses that are very important and part and parcel of this same concept. And go into great detail about the process of cleansing the heart. So text 16. Shru shru sho shradadhanasya vasudeva kadaruchi syan mahat sevaya vipra punyatirtha nishevanat. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So here's a little secret. The secret, Prabhupada says, this is the secret of success in spiritual life, is to surrender to the order of the Guru. Because the scientific process of devotional service begins with service and surrender to the Guru, to the Acharya. Tadvidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. By rendering service and by inquiries to the bona fide spiritual master, as it's said here, one gains an affinity for hearing the glories of the Lord, the messages of Vasudeva. The messages of Vasudeva. We're here conditioned souls, nitya baddha jivas in this material world. And Krishna is always coming as different avatars, different incarnations, as different representatives, in different forms, to enlighten us, to elevate us out of this material existence. We're very attached, we're in bondage. Nitya baddha means eternally conditioned. Three modes of material nature have got us, caught us up. We're in this prison. Maya has caught us in this prison, and we can't get out. We don't even know that we should get out. It's enough that we're in Maya. As devotees, we realize we're in some illusion in Maya. What to speak of those who don't even understand they're in Maya? How can they get out of Maya? They're so entrenched in illusion, in the prison, in the enjoyments, the so-called enjoyments of the prison house. They don't even know that they need to get out. So we're devotees here in this temple. This is our opportunity. We've started to hear the messages of Vasudeva. He's come to give us the message. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared specifically for the highest evolvement of that message. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goda Krishna Maha. To give us Krishna Prema is the topmost message. But it begins by service to the great devotees, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice. So that's the first important verse in this section that I'm reading. I'm not going to read all of the purports to all the verses, but these are very important verses. 17. We don't have the same. It's all right. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana yadyantaksto hi abhadrami vidhunoti suhritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. We read the purport. Messages of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna are non-different from him. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastra declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. Nam Namakari Bahudana Jasarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarane Nikala Itadashi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Idarshami Hajanananda. That's the verse that Prabhupada is referring to here. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. That's pretty liberal. At his convenience. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound. But unfortunately, we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's name and activities. We have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord, and has thus become eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. There are a few different words that describe this eagerness. One is lolium, which means basically intense desire. But there's another word which is even more descriptive. It's lobha. Lobha means greed. Greed, transcendental greed, not like greed for money or wealth or power. But it's the same principle. We have this tendency to be greedy and want something so much we'll do anything to get it. People work so hard in the material world for their occupations, for their livelihood, to raise their families, to do all of these different things. They're eager, they're greedy for wealth and for position and ambition for this or that, whatever it may be. So it's the same greed, but transferred to the desire to serve the Lord, to basically to go back to Godhead. The same greed to develop a love for God. So that intensity has to develop inside of our heart. If we really want to go back to Godhead, it's not just, it's not a mechanical process. We wake up early in the morning, we go to Mangalarti, we chant our rounds, we hear the class, we do that every day, day in and day out. It's not meant to be a mechanical process and then somehow or other we just automatically get liberated. There is an internal process that takes place when you do these things, and that's the litmus test. If we're doing those things every day, the litmus test is, are we developing our love for God? Are we developing our prema, our appreciation for the messages, eager to hear the message? Or are we falling asleep in the class, falling asleep while we chant our japa, inattentive? We used to have terms for all different kinds of japa. Jibber japa. Jibber jabber japa, something like that. Jibber jabber japa. I guess now that we used to have dive bomber japa. So that's not good japa, and that's not good chanting. Same in class. The Prabhupada would be if somebody was falling asleep in his class, he would shoot darts at them. He said, wake them up. So, attentiveness to these things is important, because if we're actually developing the love, the appreciation, step by step, then we won't fall asleep. We'll be so eager to hear this over and over again. Not just once, over and over and over again. How many times have you read Bhagavad Gita? I come from, I live in Santa Cruz near Vaisheshika's temple, and they have a program called CHAD, Chapter a Day. Right, so the chapter a day is a Bhagavad Gita, chapter a day. Every day you're supposed to read an entire chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You can read the Sanskrit, but mainly the verses, not the purports, but the verses. You read all the verses, one chapter a day. So that you read 18 days, you're finished with the whole book. Then you start it again. Do it over, then you finish another 30 days. Do it over and over and over again, and it becomes more enlightening, more nectar every day that you're reading it. It doesn't become a drudgery. Spiritual life is not a drudgery. Oh, I have to get up. Oh, I have to go to Mangalar. Oh, I have to do this serve. Oh, I have to wash the pots. Oh, I have to sweep the floor. So all the devotional service is the same. In Krishna's eyes, it's all transcendental. It's all on the spiritual platform. So cleaning the temple, you're cleaning your heart. Cleaning the temple is cleaning the heart. Washing the pots, that was the first service we did when we joined the temple. Wash the pots. Not just the inside, the outside too. The black on the bottom of the pot, get the black off the bottom of the pot. Then it's clean. Not the black bottom of the pot, clean on the inside. So there's attentiveness. Attentive to serve the Guru. Your Sri Vigrahara Dhana Nityana Sringaratan Mandir Marjanado Tasyamaktam Chanim Tobi Mandi Viroshita. We're assisting the spiritual master in the services to the deities in the temple. So we are assisting it. So in that assistance, whether we're serving his personal body or serving in some capacity in the temple, the attentiveness to that service is very important. So Sri Kirti was talking about attentiveness to personally serving Prabhupada yesterday, how important that was. It's the same with everything. Because ISKCON is Prabhupada's body. So you're also, by serving ISKCON, you're also serving Prabhupada's body. Many different topics. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. You know that verse in Bhagavad Gita? Tesham
Tatayuttana Dashtam Priti Purvakam Dadami Bhutti Yogam Ena
next one.
Tesham Evanukam Partam Aham Ajnana Jamtamaha Nashayami Atma Bhavasto Jnana Dikena Vasa.
To those devotees who are constantly devoted and worshiping me within their heart, I give the intelligence by which they come to me. Out of compassion, I, dwelling in their hearts, give through the shining lamp of knowledge, destroy the darkness of ignorance. So Krishna helps the devotee. We make the endeavor, but Krishna is also helping. It's not just our endeavor. It's endeavor and mercy. It's endeavor and grace. Both have to be there working simultaneously. One cannot enter into the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult to get rid of such desires. Women and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotee making progress on the path back to God. To speak of devotees, anyone. The Prabhupada says are very difficult problems for the devotee. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to these allurements and thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when one is helped by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. To correct page 350, Prabhupada once said that Krishna consciousness means enjoying life with a thrill. Is that correct? Is that correct? Enjoying life with a thrill. Exciting at every moment. Becomes as easy as anything. For us, it's not quite that easy. Getting up at 3, 4 in the morning. It's nice singing, we can sing and play musical instruments in the kirtan and arti, but then we have to sit and chant 16 rounds. Concentratedly chant 16 rounds with attention. Controlling our mind. No distraction. That's the best way to chant. You know, for chanting, looking around, thinking what I'm going to do today, and making my plans. That's not attentive chant. That's not attentive japa. Japa, it has to be the most attentive thing we do, actually. Attentive that's considered, actually, Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur teaches through Haridas Thakur, speaks to Lord Chaitanya, but written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The attentive, lack of attention, inattentiveness is the cause of all the other offenses. The 10 offenses to the holy name. Inattentiveness is the cause of the other offenses. Because if you chant with attention, again, the holy name is Krishna's body. We read that already here, that Krishna is non-different from his name. So if you're attentive to Krishna's name, you're being attentive to Krishna. Just as the temple is Krishna, being attentive to the service, attentive to the deities. Well, actually, seems like the whole science of Krishna consciousness is all about attention. Meditation, concentration, thinking of Krishna. It all starts in the mind. So, in the chanting, the attentiveness is the most important thing. Another topic. To become restless in the contact of women and wealth is not an astonishment, because every living being is associated with such things from remote time, practically immemorial. And it takes time to recover from this foreign nature. It's like somebody gets sick. It's a serious disease. It can take some time to recover from a disease, and then you have to follow the process given by the authority, the doctor. The doctor and the prescription. The prescription is there for drugs or antibiotics, whatever it might be, and the diet. So in Krishna consciousness, we have our prescription also. We have our diet, prasadam. It's also there, but it takes time for for the disease to be cured. But the more we follow the prescription, we'll be able to see I'm getting cured. Something's happening. I'm starting to feel something here. Some awakening, some knowledge, some better understanding of the verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, some taste for the nectar of the holy name. It'll start to happen. That's when we're getting cured. That's a symptom that we're getting cured. But if one is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his real position. By the grace of the Lord, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. What a wonderful position to reach. All the disturbing elements are eliminated from our mind. So we should hope and pray for that day to come very soon. But in the meantime, our determination to follow the prescription has to be unswerving. To serve our Guru, unswerving. What is that verse? Forgetting the Bhagavatam verse. Anyway, so I'll read the next. What time? Next verse, text 18. Nashta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishiki. So, continuation of the instructions here for hearing Bhagavatam. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Purport. Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. The remedy is the association of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavata and the devotee Bhagavata. Both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them, or either of them, can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. A devotee Bhagavat is as good as the book Bhagavat because the devotee Bhagavat leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavat. And the book Bhagavat is full of information about the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees, who are also Bhagavatas. Bhagavata book and Bhagavata book and person are identical. The devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of Bhagavan, the personality of God. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. Human reason fails to understand how by serving the devotee Bhagavat or the book Bhagavat, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. But actually, these are facts explained by Srila Narada Dev, who happened to be a maidservant's son in his previous life. The maidservant was engaged in the menial service of the sages, and thus he also came into contact with them. And simply by associating with them and accepting the remnants of foodstuff left by the sages, the son of the maidservant got the chance to become the great devotee and personality, Srila Narada Dev. Just an interesting history of Narada Muni. I just read this. In his previous life, before becoming Narada Muni, he was a demigod, and he was very handsome, very beautiful. He was a very good singer. And in the abodes of the demigods, they also sing kirtan for Vishnu. And so he was one of the demigod singers, but he somehow got a little deviated and started singing all kinds of other songs for other demigods and love songs and things like that. And finally, at one point, some sages cursed him to take birth in a low family, unattractive, no qualifications, just low-born shooter birth. And that birth was, we don't know what his name is, but was Narada in his child form here that is being discussed by Narada Muni himself, telling his own history. And so although he was cursed, that curse, this is a regular, you say that?
Occurrence?
Occurrence, but it's almost like an expectation. When you get cursed by a great sage or Muni or yogi, it's always a benediction. It's meant to purify you. It's like the twin Arjun trees. Who were they?
Nalakuvera and Manigriva.
Nalakuvera and Manigriva. The sons of Kuvera were cursed by Narada Muni to become trees. Who wants to become a tree? Who become a tree? I live in California, redwood trees. They live for thousands of years. Who wants to become a tree? But those trees were the twin Arjuna trees that Krishna personally knocked over so that Krishna could give blessings and they could get the mercy of Krishna. So that was a blessing in disguise. There are other stories like that in the Puranas and Krishna book. So it was a blessing in disguise. So here Narada Muni, he was cursed, but in a very short one lifetime, he became qualified to become Narada Muni in his next life. The eternal spaceman, we call him the eternal spaceman. Because all he does, he travels with his Veena, and he's sometimes called the father of devotional service. He has a very important position in the universe. He's always appearing during the pastimes of the Lord, instigating the pastimes and preparing the way for the incarnations, etc., etc. And he does this eternally now. He can go to Vaikuntha, he can stay in the material world, he appears, makes devotees, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, many different kings also. Just one lifetime of those. So we can also do it in one lifetime. If we're eager enough, we can, may not become Narada Muni, that's not our goal, but we can go back to Godhead and purify ourselves completely in one lifetime, develop our love of God, and go back to God. So that's another example that's shown in the story of Narada, how one can very quickly, doesn't have to take lifetimes, can happen very quickly. These are the miraculous effects of the association of Bhagavatas, and to understand these effects practically, it should be noted that by such sincere association of the Bhagavatas, one is sure to receive transcendental knowledge very easily. Robert uses this word a lot, very easily. He also has a statement probably, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple and difficult for the crooked. So seems pretty black and white, but we're all at some range, some level of crookedness, perhaps, more or less. But if we're very simple, Krishna consciousness can be very easy. With the result that he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. The more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of the Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The messages of the book Bhagavata therefore have to be received from the devotee Bhagavata, and the combination of these two Bhagavatas will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. Prabhupada's words are always so very encouraging also. So encouraging. That's why he created ISKCON, to encourage all of humanity. All the temples that he personally opened or inspired his disciples to open, and centers and farms and restaurants, and now continuing. There are 400 centers and temples all over the world. The chanting is going on, the book distribution, all these activities that Prabhupada gave to engage us, to make Krishna consciousness easy for everyone to engage and to go back to God. So the next text 19. These are the dirty things in this previous verse. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. So what is it that's troublesome to the heart? So that's described here. Tada rajastamo bhava kama loha dayaschaye cheta etaranavidham sthitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. He's not perfect yet. It says here, almost completely destroyed. He's not perfect. He's established in the mode of goodness. Purport. A living being in his normal constitutional position is fully satisfied in spiritual bliss. This state of existence is called Brahmabhuta or Atmanandi, or the state of self-satisfaction. This self-satisfaction is not like the satisfaction of the inactive fool. The inactive fool is in the state of foolish ignorance, whereas the self-satisfied Atmanandi is transcendental to the material state of existence. This stage of perfection is attained as soon as one is fixed in irrevocable devotional service. Devotional service is not inactivity, but the unalloyed activity of the soul. I'm trying to remember this statement. About the fool. What is that? Madman and the... I can't remember. Anyway, let's go on. The soul's activity becomes adulterated in contact with matter, and as such, the diseased activities are expressed in the form of lust, desire, hankering, inactivity, foolishness, and sleep. The effect of devotional service becomes manifest by complete elimination of these effects of passion and ignorance. So once again, we're taking the prescribed medicine. We can test the result by the gradual elimination of these things that are described here. Lust, desire, and hankering. Lust, desire, and hankering. These are the diseases, the covering of the heart that keep us in bondage. Sometimes ignorance, sometimes passion, sometimes goodness. All the symptoms of those modes that are all described in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna gives all the symptoms of the different modes, and they're always in competition. They're always in competition. Sometimes ignorance, sometimes passion. Now, if we can stay in goodness, that's good, but sometimes passion and ignorance overcome goodness. They're competing for supremacy. It's like a battle going on within. But Prabhupada says here, if we develop irrevocable devotional service, what does irrevocable mean? What's a good definition? Irrevocable. Unstoppable, unswerving, undaunted, determined, resolved, fixed, irrevocable devotion. If we're fixed in irrevocable devotion, not just following mechanically, but fixed actually in the taste of irrevocable devotional service, then these lower modes will not be able to conquer us. We will be fixed in the mode of goodness. Not yet prema, but fixed in goodness, pure goodness. We come to the next stage. So many stages. Shraddha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti. What's the next? Ruchi. Then Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. These are the stages of devotional service. So let's continue. The effect of devotional service becomes manifest by complete elimination of these effects of passion and ignorance. The devotee is fixed at once in the mode of goodness, and he makes further progress to rise to the position of Vasudeva, or the state of unmixed sattva, or Shuddha sattva. Shuddha bhakata charana renu bhajana anula. Bhakti Thakur saying, Shuddha bhakata charana renu bhajana anula. When will I come to the stage of Shuddha bhakata, pure, unalloyed bhakti, devotional service? He's hankering for Shuddha bhakata. Only in this Shuddha sattva state can one always see Krishna eye to eye by dint of pure affection for the Lord. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayesh vilokayanti yang shyama sundaram achimtya guna swarupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. The eye of the devotee becomes tinged with the salve of love. Pure devotional eye becomes tinged with the salve of love. A devotee is always in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Therefore, he harms no one. But the non-devotee, however educated he may be, is always harmful. A devotee is neither foolish nor passionate. The harmful, foolish, and passionate cannot be devotees of the Lord, however. They may advertise themselves as devotees by outward dress. That's a whole topic in and of itself. False gurus, devotee yogis, false devotees. A devotee is always qualified with all the good qualities of God. Quantitatively, such qualifications may be different, but qualitatively, both the Lord and his devotee are one and the same. Text 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sanghasya jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. What a stage of consciousness to attain. He gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.3, it is said that out of many thousands of ordinary men, one fortunate man endeavors for perfection in life. Anyone know that verse? Anushanam sahasreshi kashya out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, but those who achieve perfection are the one knows me in truth. Mostly men are conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus they are engaged always in lust, desire, hankerings, ignorance, and sleep. Out of many such man-like animals, there is actually a man who knows the responsibility of human life and thus tries to make life perfect by following the prescribed duties. And out of many thousands of such persons who have thus attained success in human life, one may know scientifically about the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. In the same Bhagavad Gita 1855, it is also said that scientific knowledge of Sri Krishna is understood only by the process of devotional service. Pull that one up. Bhaktyamam avijanati yavanjati tatomam tattvato gyatva vishati tadantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. The very same thing is confirmed herein in the above words. No ordinary man, or even one who has attained success in human life, can know scientifically or perfectly the personality of Godhead. Perfection of human life is attained when one can understand that he is not the product of matter, but is in fact spirit. And as soon as one understands that he has nothing to do with matter, he at once ceases his material hankerings and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. Prabhupada is elaborating from the verse, he gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of God. And this includes understanding I'm not this body, I'm eternal soul, I should not over-endeavor for material things. Instead, it includes the gamut, the whole range of spiritual knowledge. This attainment of success is possible when one is above the modes of passion and ignorance, or in other words, when one is actually a Brahmana by qualification. A Brahmana is the symbol of Sattva Guna, or the mode of goodness, and others who are not in the mode of goodness are either Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, or less than the Shudras. The Brahminical stage is the highest stage of human life because of its good qualities. So one cannot be a devotee unless one at least qualifies as a Brahmana. Shamo namastapaksho cham shantir arjamam evacha Jnanam Vijnanam Ashtikyam Brahma Karma Svabhavatam. I don't even remember which verse it is, but peacefulness, truthfulness, austerity, cleanliness, mercy, austerity, religiousness, realization. These are the qualities of the Brahman. I'll keep reading it. Translation, exact translation. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. The devotee is already a Brahmana by action. Now this is interesting. We can elaborate for a while on that, but the principle here is that by practicing devotional service and coming in contact with Krishna, by chanting, hearing, reading, one develops these qualities of the Brahmana. So a devotee who's advancing and has become a little advanced, he's automatically a Brahmana. These qualities should be in him. A pure Vaishnava is a liberated soul and is transcendental even to the position of a Brahmana. Now, I was saying a pure Vaishnava. You could be a Vaishnava, you may not be 100% pure, but a pure Vaishnava is transcendental even to the position of a Brahmana. Important point. In the material stage, even a Brahmana is also a conditioned soul, because although in the Brahminical stage the conception of Brahman or transcendence is realized, scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord is lacking. One has to surpass the Brahminical stage and reach the Vasudeva stage to understand the personality of Godhead Krishna. The science of the personality of Godhead is the subject matter for study by the postgraduate students in the spiritual line. Foolish men or men with a poor fund of knowledge do not understand the Supreme Lord, and they interpret Krishna according to their respective whims. The fact is, however, that one cannot understand the science of the personality of Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of the material modes, even up to the stage of a Brahmana. When a qualified Brahmana factually becomes a Vaishnava in the enlightened state of liberation, he can know what is actually the personality of Godhead. So I'll just read this last text here, 21. Vidyate vidyaya grantish vidyante sarva sanshaya jiyante chasya karmani drishta eva manishvare. So this is the result. Now, we've been given the process, we understand the philosophy, then we're given the process for putting into practice the purification process. And now the result. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Purport: attaining scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. As far as the identity of the living being as spirit self is concerned, there are a number of speculations and misgivings. The materialist does not believe in the existence of the spirit self, and empiric philosophers believe in the impersonal feature of the whole spirit without individuality of the living beings. But the transcendentalists affirm that the soul and the supersoul are two different identities, qualitatively one, but quantitatively different. There are many other theories But all these different speculations are at once cleared off as soon as Sri Krishna is realized in truth by the process of Bhakti Yoga. So we've been given the process, the philosophy, the process, and what the result will be. To put it into our own life practically, these principles, so that we can experience that. This is Prabhupada's mercy. This is the process of liberation from the material world. He's given us this all the techniques, everything is there, the full science, nectar of devotion. So it's all there to bring us to understand Sri Krishna in truth. And when we understand Krishna in truth, we simultaneously understand ourselves. Sri Krishna is like the sun, and the materialistic speculations about the absolute truth are like the darkest midnight. As soon as the Krishna sun is arisen within one's heart, the darkness of materialistic speculations about the absolute truth and the living beings is at once cleared off. In the presence of the sun, the darkness cannot stand, and the relative truths that were hidden within the dense darkness of ignorance become clearly manifested by the mercy of Krishna, who is residing in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. In the Bhagavad Gita 10:11, the Lord says that in order to show special favor to his pure devotees, he personally eradicates the dense darkness of all misgivings by switching on the light of pure knowledge within the heart of a devotee. We already said that verse. Therefore, because of the personality of Godhead's taking charge of illuminating the heart of his devotee, certainly a devotee engaged in his service in transcendental love cannot remain in darkness. He comes to know everything of the absolute and the relative truths. It is also stated in Ishopanishad that one should cultivate knowledge of matter and spirit side by side. Because if you don't understand matter, you don't understand the material energy. It's part of the process, understanding how Maya works, what to avoid, how the illusory energy is covering the jiva. All these are facets of transcendental knowledge, the material and the spiritual, side by side. The devotee cannot remain in darkness, and because the devotee is enlightened by the personality of God, and his knowledge is certainly perfect. This is not the case for those who speculate on the absolute truth by dint of their own limited power of approach. Perfect knowledge is called parampara, or deductive knowledge coming down from the authority to the submissive oral receiver, who is bona fide by service and surrender. Again, get back to the same original point. Service and surrender. Tadgati pranipatena. Again. One cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme and know him also at the same time. He reserves the right of not being exposed to such a challenging spirit of an insignificant spark of the whole, a spark subjected to the control of illusory energy. The devotees are submissive, and therefore the transcendental knowledge descends from the personality of God into Brahma, and from Brahma to the sons and disciples in succession. This process is helped by the Supersoul within such devotees. That is the perfect way of learning transcendental knowledge. Last paragraph. This enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter, because the knot of spirit and matter is untied by the Lord. This knot is called ahankara, and it falsely obliges a living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, verse was the knot becomes untied, thus the knot in the heart is pierced, soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. One sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive action. In material existence, a living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and the bad effects of those actions life after life. But as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reaction. So here's the whole process of liberation through devotional service is explained in these verses of the Bhagavatam. I'll stop here. A little bit. Any questions? Comments? Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Grantaraj, Srila Bhagavatam,